Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 14th, 2020 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us this morning as always. We're going to begin as we usually do with an invocation, so please stand and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, please bless Henderson County. Please put your hand on the decisions made by these public servants. Please help our community. Please watch over men and women who are first responders and serving overseas. Please keep your caring hand on our children, our youth, and again, the people of this county. We say all that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate McCullum.
Here.
Magistrate Berry.
Here.
Magistrate Southern.
Here.
Magistrate Moran.
Here.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the December 23rd, 2019 Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other additions, corrections, or clarifications? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is Judges Scholar Day again for Henderson County Fiscal Court. And we have two middle school Judges Scholars we're honoring today, Jesse Latimer and Bryce Beaver. And I'd like them to join me in the front of the podium, please. We have special proclamations in their honor.
Bryce Beaver and Jesse Latimer have been chosen by North Middle School and South Middle School to be recipients of the Judges Scholar Award because they made a choice to accept changes that would benefit their education and well-being. And whereas change is not easy, however, Bryce's and Jesse's ability to embrace change has led to growth that will not only further their successes in life. And whereas success is measured many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let their efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students, such as Bryce and Jesse, will be our future leaders. And now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim today, January 14, 2020, as Bryce Beaver Day and Jesse Latimer Day.
If Jesse's family would like to come up along with the school representative. Members of Bryce's family and the school representative will come. never ends.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
I know you might feel a little conspicuous sitting there, but we wanted to make sure you had a front row seat, and you picked a very interesting day to come to Henderson County Fiscal Court. So enjoy the process, and congratulations. It's a big deal. Congratulations to your families, too. We have with us today Matt Callahan from Perfection Group, which is an energy efficiency group that we have dealt with in the past, and I wanted Matt to come today to speak to us about potential audit of various systems in the county that might help us. And I'll, if I characterize that correct, I'll turn it over to you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Judge and Magistrates. Appreciate your time today. As the Judge says, I'm with Perfection Group, and we are a design-build engineering company. We're a facility maintenance and service company, and we're also an energy services company. And we talk to cities and counties throughout our regional footprint. We're in 5 states, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. And we talk to municipalities about the opportunity and strategy of guaranteed energy savings performance contracting. And what that is, it's a KRS 45A.352 legislative process that allows you to make county infrastructure improvements utilizing savings to pay for the project instead of taking money out of your budgets to make these improvements. The benefit of it is that you get people, companies like ours, to come to you and provide solutions through the RFP process that you'll have to go through. It is not a low-bid exercise. It is an exercise using engineered solutions that provide the best payback to create that savings model to pay for a project over a period of time. It is debt serviced, but it is paid through from energy savings, operational savings, and capital cost avoidance. We do this. We've probably done 85% of the counties that have done this type of process in the past in Kentucky, and we look at all the buildings, and we look at various energy conservation measures that range from lighting. We look at retro commissioning, which is, for lack of a better term, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got some decent equipment that may still be in use. It's got life cycle. We'll bring it up to as close to the original design and intent and efficiency of that equipment. We look at building automation controls and how your buildings operate. We look at the status and age of your current equipment that's in use. Upgrading that can provide efficiencies environmentally and energy and operational savings. We look at the building envelope. We look at your roofs, your windows, your doors, and make suggestions and recommendations based on that can fit into a program like this. We look at water conservation. We look at buildings from the usage here with the domestic water for sinks and lavatories, et cetera. And we look at components like at the jail, which uses quite a bit of water for the inmates there, from toilets and flushings and showers, et cetera, and even the kitchen use that you've got there. We also look at other opportunities within the county infrastructure. It may be how you procure your vehicles. It may be how an alternative fuel opportunity for them, adding liquid propane auto fuel as a measure to save money for the vehicles that you've got. And we look at renewable energy as well, and opportunities for that type of energy savings. Keep in mind, the guarantee is an important part of this. So what that means is that you take your energy and your operational savings, and we build a platform or a cash flow based on that. You're spending the money here. We're trying to get you to spend the money here, so that difference pays for that project. If we, or an energy service company that responds to your bid, if you go down that road, says that you're going to save $100,000 on an annual basis, and you only save $90,000 that first year that we measure and verify, the energy service company has to write you a check for $10,000 to make the guarantee whole. If you save over it on an annual basis, you get to keep the savings and do with what you want to make those improvements. But the benefit is we take the low-hanging fruit, the high-energy savings opportunities with the longer-term payback, the buildings, the building envelope, the windows, roof, doors, and we bundle those together. It's a bundled saving approach to get this to pay off in a time frame that makes sense from a life cycle for your components, if that makes sense. In the past, as the judge says, we looked. We did look at Henderson County, I think in 2015, 2016, we looked at 24 months of utility data, which is the first step in the process, and we energy benchmarked some of these items, and we came up with a forecasted utility savings for the buildings that we looked at around $55,000. So that's the energy component. Operationally, that's something that we'd have to go through to look at your budget, current budget and your actual spend on an annual basis over the last couple of years to see what you're spending on that. And then the capital avoidance piece of it is looking at the components that need to be replaced at this point in time, whether it's your controls, your HVAC equipment, or maybe it's the combo units over at the jail. But that's how we look at it. Now, this is an estimate based on saving a certain percentage, roughly 20%. Gives us a ballpark, but this evaluation allows you to look at where your buildings are running currently and what the potential is to save, to see if you even want to go through the process of the RFP and accept and receive bids to look at going through a performance contract at the end of the day.
And as you and I have discussed before, Matt, the proposal really before us today is to allow Perfection Group to go ahead and do an audit free of charge and bring us back an estimation that we can then use as a spec for an RFP and see if there's worthwhile savings to be done, or what our department heads think of the suggestions that Perfection Group arrives at. And am I characterizing that correctly?
Correct, yes. The evaluation that I'll do for the Henderson County doesn't cost you guys a thing. It allows us to provide to you a way to say, are you a candidate for this RFP, the performance contracting strategy, to move forward and make that decision. Let's say everything looked great, and at the end of the day, you guys wanted to go through the RFP process. You advertise it normally. RFP process lasts probably 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the breadth of the county. Then you receive bids back. At the end of that time, you receive bids back from several companies. You're still not obligated to do anything with any of those companies. You have a shopping list, so to speak, and you prioritize what you want to do or not do under those the RFP responses that you get. But at the end of that time, you're not obligated to do anything. So it's a win-win situation for the county. And over the past 7 years that we started this with the county, especially the county side of things, they probably save over $1 million a year with all the counties that we've talked to already that are paying for these types of projects over a period of time.
Any other questions of Matt? Anybody?
Would you all do an audit like on our judicial center?
We would do an audit on your judicial center. We did look at the judicial center before. The only caveat with judicial centers is that the AOC doesn't necessarily participate in these types of projects. It's hard to get them involved in it because of the way they like to run things. But that's something to work through and massage as you go through the RFP process with the judge and the leaders over there and at the AOC to talk to them and say, okay, we're going to try to work this through. There are ways to do it, and it has been done. But it certainly would be something that we would, through the purview of this, that we would look at, yes.
Well, they're paying the expense.
Correct.
So, I mean, I don't know if we should care, but I do care. We've got a chiller system over there that's humongous. It works 24/7, 12 months a year. It seems to me it'd be a lot more practical to have some smaller unit in the wintertime up on to capture the. It's got a heat exchanger up in the
top of the building that it brings in air and in the wintertime grabs the heat out of it before it expels it, and vice versa in the summertime. In the summertime, I can see how you'd need the big chiller. But to be running that 24/7, and I think the utilities on that building about 3 times what the building this is. I mean, it's never worked well. It's never been designed right. It's never done.
I understand. And typically, what we see in county infrastructure, the old courthouses are more efficient than the newer AOC buildings. It is what it is from that standpoint. They got a lot more building load over there, and they're built on bid spec, low bid. Maybe things aren't ever completed properly on the punch list, and things get going through. So that's what we see a lot, but certainly we would look at that and offer suggestions on it.
Well, as it was designed at least 33% less cooling capacity than it needed.
Okay.
And we ended up having to sue the architect, and they gave us the insurance money, but it never got fixed like it. We had it actually rained inside the buildings. The humidity got so bad.
Sure, understood. That's one of the benefits of this type of process as well. When this is engineered, it is engineered to do what it's supposed to do. Okay, so you don't realize those problems down the road. Loads are recalculated. We look at back when this building was built, computers weren't around. I don't know how many people you had at the time, but we look at the current operation and the future operation of the building as well for the engineering that we do for the solution. All ESCOs do that.
Any other questions of Matt?
So you only do the engineering, and then we bid out the
We will. So my initial thing is the analysis that goes with it. Okay, in order for us to do work like this, we have to develop the opportunities. Sometimes the magistrates or fiscal courts don't even realize that this is an opportunity for them to save money for the county and a way to improve their infrastructure. So my education component is right now teaching you how to go through this process. We're looking at this to see if you're a candidate for the ESPC process. If you are, we'll work with the fiscal court to put the advertisement together and an RFP solicitation process proposal. And at that point in time, we'll respond to that proposal along with several other energy companies, if they're interested, and provide you, at that point in time, an engineered solution for that.
and
Does that
then
make sense, Tim?
with the engineering solution. Once you come up with the engineering, say you got the bid,
Okay.
and you come in, and then it
We project manage the whole process, the whole project, whatever you choose from that engineered solution, that response. We sign a contract with you, and then we begin construction, whether it's changing out the chiller at the AOC or here, or the controls here, or the lighting at different places, or at the jail, or the water conservation. We project manage all of that for the county and get paid on AIA documentation for process payments over the course of the construction period.
through the savings that we get from.
Well, you debt service the project, so
Okay.
you'll take a loan out, but the loans pay. The loan is repaid from energy savings and operational savings and capital cost avoidance for this. Okay.
If we choose to move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing about it is the financing can be set up so that you don't make your first payment until the year after the day construction is completed. So you actually realize those savings to put back into the funding for the debt service that you take out. Right now, debt services loans are. We're working on one right now. It's about 2.75%. So money's fairly good for financing at this point in time. But that's what we've been seeing over the course of the last 7 years with Kentucky counties. Is money's probably around 3% or less on that side of it.
Or we could pay cash.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
So without objection, if anybody has any other questions, I'd like to at least give Perfection Group to go ahead and perform their analysis and then bring it back to us, and we can make decisions based on that. Again, it's no charge to us, and just see what they come up with.
Judge, just one more thing. When I looked at analysis, Matt, I noticed there was 4 items that were not available, and you kind of you put a dollar amount in there at 20%. Is that just a best guess?
At this point in
Or
time,
you didn't have access to that information, so the kind of the average is those savings?
Well,
I'm trying to say based on what?
Well, this is based on the fact that when we looked at the time, you didn't have new lighting in here.
The LED,
okay. The jail is what it is. I think the jail hasn't changed much. You may have done some. Bill may have done some other projects throughout the county. We do that because if I come in and tell you that it's going to be 30 or 40%, that's going to make everybody's mouth water. But at the same time, it's not realistic. So this is what we average around 32% savings for all the projects that we do currently on the energy and operational side of things. So this is just a conservative estimate to see where things can shake out and what size and type of project that you can do from energy. And we didn't look at the water savings aren't in here, okay, that we saw at the jail. Their operational savings aren't in here as well, and we haven't added capital avoidance. Per the KRS legislation, if your project's $5 million and you've got that much capital need for the county, we can still only use 50% of that total project price. So we can only, because that's another way to stay conservative and not overestimate the savings, and the state is okay with utilizing that number instead of saying your $5 million capital avoidance is going to pay for everything. We want the energy to pay for it and the operational savings to pay for it, and that's what's the guaranteed part.
Yeah, I understand this is 15, 16, and we have made some changes, but we'll get a more comprehensive.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And the RFP responses will be a fully engineered, fully costed, fully guaranteed response, so that when you open those up, they're basically shovel ready, or should be shovel ready from any ESCO that responds to you, for you guys to pick and choose whoever meets the needs and what you wanted from that analysis, that response.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
And just to get it in the record, I'd like a motion to approve that Perfection Group perform their analysis and report back to us.
So move.
Any other questions of Matt? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll hear back.
I'll get in contact with you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It's that time of year to open the bids for our material needs for the road department, and I'll ask Bill Hubiak if he wants to bring those up.
First bid I'm opening is from Ohio Valley Drainage. This would be for N12 plastic pipe that we utilize at the county road department.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. I'm going to start off, and then I'm going to read the diameter of the pipe, and then I'm going to read the cost per foot. Is that okay with everybody? All right. So I'm going to start off with 4-inch. $1.12.65. 6-inch, $2.522. 8-inch, $3.8375. 10-inch, $5.109. And I think we got a typo here. That's got to be 12-inch. because the way we're going down in succession, it's got to be $6.1365, 15-inch, $8.04, and 18-inch, $10.65, 24-inch, $18.42, 30-inch, $27.288, 36-inch, $34.608, 42-inch, $47.58, 48-inch, $58.98, 60-inch, $97.044. And then the couplers are as listed. Do I need to read them out loud? Okay. Okay, the next bid from White Concrete. This is the Portland cement bid. This is for concrete. It's 3,500 PSI Class A, $123.50 per cubic yard. 4,000 PSI, $125.50 per cubic yard. Dredgeable flowable fill is at $85 a cubic yard. Structural flowable fill at $88.
Bill, I have
cubic yard.
$84 for digital flowable fill. 84.
84? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry. And 88 for
Yeah.
the structural.
Where is this? At their plant? What is their cost to bring it to the site? What's the cost to bring, is this at their plant or?
No,
what?
that's delivered cost.
Okay.
Yeah, that's delivered. Any other questions? Okay, the next bid is for bituminous concrete. This is asphalt. This is J.H. Rudolph. You look so enthused. So far. Yeah, don't find so. Okay, this is for the emulsified asphalt. This is for the seal coat cover specifications. RS-2 is $2.85 per gallon. MS-2 is 85 cents per gallon. They have no bid for primer L.
That's $2.85 per gallon on the second, on
Yes.
MS2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom down here, this price per square yard of single chip and seal is $2.85. Double chip and seal, price per square yard is $2.85.
Now, is that their cost of that for putting it down?
Do what?
What is the 285 include?
That would be putting it down. It says job requires self-propelled shipper, distributed on a rubber tire, furnished and operated by the contractor. That's in place.
When we were at the meeting, remember the concrete put in the
Right.
that same meeting, they talked about doing double chip and sealing those roads afterwards, so that would be twice this amount now?
Yes. Okay. Any questions on that?
What Charlie just said, it says the price per double chip and seal is $285.
Right.
So
Per yard. It's the same to going over it again. So they single do it once, $285. If they double go over it a second time, it's the same
I
amount
got you.
on top of it.
Okay.
Do we have any roads that have done that?
Yeah.
We do not have any roads within the county that we have done any chip and seal. I know of none that were prior to me getting here 22 years ago that we had done. At that time when I got here, we did have some roads in the bottoms that were asphalted that we had to put back to gravel just because they didn't have the proper base underneath them, and with the water levels in the backwater of the Ohio and Green Rivers, they were degraded to the point where it was cheaper to put them back to gravel and maintain them that way than to spend the amount of money to put them into bituminous concrete asphalt.
Most of them had a very thin coating of asphalt anyway.
That's correct. This next bid is for the bituminous concrete from J.H. Rudolph also. Okay. This is our bituminous concrete asphalt. We bid 3 different types: surface, binder, and base. Loaded onto trucks at the batch plant. That would be any of our trucks going over to do picking it up. Surface is at $69 a ton. Binders at $65 a ton, and bases at $59. They also have high-performance cold mix at $1.05 a ton. Applied to the roadways, this is where we have our materials put down on the county road by them. Bituminous concrete surface mix is $80.25 per ton. Binder is $76.50 per ton. Base is $64 per ton. And then we also have them bid a 1 foot wide, 4-inch thick DGA shoulder is put down at $41.50 a ton.
Bill, on that cold mix, I believe you said $1.05 a ton. I think it's $105 a ton.
Okay. Next bid I'm opening is from Rogers Group. This is done in the same format, and we have 3 different types of material. This would be loaded up onto our truck at the batch plant. $64 for surface, $60 for binder, and $58.75 for base material. Applied to the roadways in the county, surface mix $70 per ton. Binder at $65.75 per ton. base at $65.25 per ton, and 1 foot wide, 4 inch thick DGA shoulder at $36 per ton. Yes, sir. Right, they didn't make a copy of it. It was only on the original. I'm sorry. Okay, this next bid is from Road Builders out of Madisonville, Kentucky.
So Bryce and Jesse, as boring as this may seem, we really do honor you by making you sit through all of this. What it is we put these things out for bid, we advertise them, and we ask people that sell these things to get us their best price. And so that way we know going forward for the rest of the year what our price is, and it helps be responsible with the taxpayers' money by getting the lowest price we can. So boring but important.
I do have the non-inclusive agreement for this one also. Okay. All right. Loaded onto the truck at the batch plant, bituminous concrete hot mix at $62 a ton. Applied onto the roadway, surface hot mix $69.67 per ton. Binder $66.16 per ton. Base $62.09 per ton. 1 foot wide, 4 inch thick DGA shoulder at $30 per ton. Okay. This next bid is from Rogers Group. This will be for limestone. And once again, I got the non-inclusive agreement here, one copy. Okay. This is crushed limestone. Price, one is pickup FOB at the Crittenden County Quarry. The second one that I read will be for hauled to and deposited at the road department. So DGA $9.50 a ton, $19.50 a ton. 8/9M $13.50 a ton, $23.50 a ton. Channel lining number 2 $14.45 a ton, $24.45 a ton. 23s $11 a ton, $21 a ton. 57s $11 a ton, $21 a ton. Number 4s $11 a ton, $21 a ton. Manufactured sand $9.50 a ton, $19.50 a ton. Next bid is from Malzer Crushed Stone. Once again, I have a copy of the non-inclusive agreement. This time we're going to be reading three numbers. The first one is picked up FOB at their yard on Old Geneva Road. The second bid will be for the delivered to the county road garage, and the third price will be for any point within Henderson County. 610s DGA 1640, 20.35, 20.65. 57s and number 3s 1690 a ton, 20.85, 21.15. 68s 1850, 22.45, 22.75. 9Ms 1905, 23, 23.30. Rip Wrap 12-inch max, $21.65, $26 and $26.90. Any questions? The last bid is from Malzer Crushed Stone. This is for river sand and gravel.
Did we get a bid from Boyd's on that? Do what? Did we get a bid from Boyd's on river sand and gravel?
No, we did not.
They haven't begun operations yet.
Once again, I have the non-inclusive agreement. This is fill sand picked up at Old Geneva Road, $10.95 a ton, delivered to the county garage at $14.90 a ton. As usual, I would like the court to allow me to review the bids, make sure everything is in place, tabulate them, and come back with the recommendation during our next fiscal court meeting.
Second.
Any questions of Bill? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll hear you in the
Thank
next
you.
meeting. Yep. Next on your agenda is the renewal of our HVAC contract. J.D. Shekel holds that contract, and it's renewable every year. They do a good job. Their prices have increased a bit this year, and I've asked Charlie Ransom, our head of maintenance, to join us. Charlie? Just a quick question. Jay Shekel does a lot of work for us. They know our systems well. You're happy with them, and any comment about this slight price increase?
The increase is less than what I expected, and they haven't increased in 4 years. I've kept them right there. And I just wanted to tell Mr. McCullum that we made $87,000 worth of upgrades in the last 3 months to the chiller, HVC, everything through the building on every floor. Getting
And
it
that's
up.
also through Shekel, with Shekel's
It's all
help.
through Shekel, yeah.
They've known the problem.
Yes, yes. I just couldn't get no money from AOC until, but it's up to grade, and the way they talked, it should last for at least 10 to 15 years.
So without any other questions of Charlie, we just need permission to go ahead and renew this contract with Shekel.
Second.
All right.
Motion is second. Any other questions?
All right.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Another quick one. When we passed county holidays in November, we forgot that the presidential election day, which we have in 2020, has traditionally been a holiday for county government, and wanted to amend the list to include the presidential election day.
So what will that do to the clerk's office?
They're closed anyway for elections.
They work though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're having to work. Yeah.
Yeah, but their office is closed to the public. But you think they get a holiday pay?
Everybody else a holiday off, and we're not giving them one, is that what we're doing?
Yes.
She gives us her birthday, and we're, like, you can't choose a day,
Right.
you just, it's your birthday, and however it falls, she.
I hope they get it on tape. But the answer was we give them optional birthdays, days off to compensate.
As long as it's all
Yeah.
fair to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? Need a motion to approve President Election Day? Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Whitney Risley is here from Henderson County Economic Development. And we have a couple small things to do for them. If you remember the resolution we passed designating Kindle as the agency that received the TVA Economic Development Funds was passed. Kindle has changed its name now to, I believe, just Henderson Economic Development. So to make sure that we adhere to guidelines for that program, we need to change our designation from Kindle to Henderson Economic Development, correct?
That's correct.
And that resolution is in your packet, and I'll have the clerk read it really quick.
Adoption of a resolution of the Henderson County Fiscal Court designating Henderson County Economic Development Corporation to receive Tennessee Valley Authority TVA funds under the Regional Development Agency Assistance Program. Whereas Henderson County desires to promote and carry out economic development efforts on behalf of the residents of Henderson County, and whereas it is recognized that the Regional Development Agency Assistance Program funds available to the county pursuant to KRS Chapter 96 and 2018 Kentucky General Assembly House Bill 200 Budget Bill impose certain obligations and responsibilities upon the county and will require, 1, the designation of an Industrial Development Authority, an IDA, established under KRS 154.50-301 to KRS 154.50-346. Number 2, approval of a satisfactory application to be transmitted to DLG for approval. Now therefore be it resolved this 14th day of January 2020 by Henderson County Fiscal Court that the following Industrial Development Authority is designated to receive Regional Development Agency Assistance Program funds. The name of the IDA will be Henderson County Economic Development Corporation. Contact person Whitney Risley. The address is now P.O. Box 874, Henderson, Kentucky 42420. Phone number 270-577-0114.
Get a motion to approve that
So
change
moved.
for records.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Whitney, now would you explain the next resolution? Just a little technical.
Sure. The next resolution is in regards to the Product Development Initiative grant, which is what we will refer to it as PDI. We applied for that and received recommendation for the 425 bypass property to extend the natural gas line to serve that site. During that process, we now have to go through the state to apply for the KEDFA, which is Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority, and the applying company will be the city of Henderson because they will be doing all of the upgrades, and then the second half of the match will come from the TVA funds that the county receives through, then passes through Henderson Economic Development, and so the application paperwork for the state would identify as the Henderson County Fiscal Court as the grantee and the city of Henderson as the beneficiary of that grant to fulfill the PDI gas line extension.
And we have to pass a resolution to that effect.
Yes.
Does everybody understand that?
Yes. Yes.
And the main thing from what you said is that the KEDFA board needs a resolution basically supporting the city's application.
Yes,
for
and
this
and for the
project.
PDI application itself, the fiscal court submitted a support letter, and this is just since it's a separate application, they just need to continually have insurance that the support is there from both county and city.
I'll have the clerk read the resolution.
Resolution endorsing Product Development Initiative, the PDI grant application for the extension of natural gas line to 425 bypass property for industrial development. Whereas Henderson County desires to promote and carry out economic development efforts on behalf of the residents of Henderson County, whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court recognizes that most prospective industries are searching for industrial sites that are shovel-ready and utility-served for expedited timelines, and that gas line construction could take up to 4 months to serve the natural gas needs of a larger user wishing to locate on the 425 bypass rail site. And whereas recognized by the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development and the Kentucky Association for Economic Development have grant funding available through Product Development Initiative grants to supplement site or building improvement projects. And whereas a project sponsored by the Henderson Economic Development, formerly Kindle, the City of Henderson, and Henderson County proposing to extend approximately 4,400 feet of natural gas line to an existing potential industrial site marketed as the Henderson Bypass Rail Site on Highway 425, was recommended for development in the PDI process and will now go to the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for funding consideration. And whereas Henderson County has previously designated Henderson Economic Development as the recipient of TVA funding for the 2019-2020 in the amount of $100,000 and pledged said funding towards the local match for this grant, which will be in addition to the $75,000 from the City of Henderson, for a total of $175,000 in local match funds for this grant. Now therefore be it resolved this 14th day of January 2020 by the Henderson County Fiscal Court as follows. 1. The Henderson Fiscal Court hereby expresses its full support of the 425 bypass property project to extend a natural gas line to the property as described in the PDI grant application. Number 2, the Henderson Fiscal Court will continue to collaborate with the City of Henderson and Henderson Economic Development in furtherance of this project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions of Whitney? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Next, we have our annual submission from the Sheriff's Office setting his budget for personnel for the year. As a reminder, this is a statutorily required estimate. The actual expenditures for his office will be controlled through our local budget process, but both he and Renisa submit the maximum amount they anticipate. Sheriff Brady would like to come up and make any comments about this submission. Any questions? You also have, I'm sorry.
We talked about the bidding of the gas.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Okay. All right.
You also, not only do you have that estimate, but also the estimate on total receipts for the Sheriff's Office. That is included at $1,390,500, $1,390,500. Again, both required to be submitted by the Sheriff, and unless anybody has any questions of Sheriff Brady, I'll entertain a motion to approve these.
I'll make a motion to approve. That's actually, the salaries are less than last year. They went up 8% from the year before, but what we're approving is just a little bit over 3% plus 2% compounded. So I'd make a motion to approve that.
I would second it, Judge. And again, just for the record, this is something we have to do annually, every January. That states maximum amounts.
Right, and the
And I did
actual spending is controlled through our budgeting process.
And I did second the motion.
So you have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A couple more things. Dealing with the Sheriff's Office, they are getting their printers replaced. That's just as we did last meeting, and it involves a contract, and I believe you have in your packet. They have requested a 36-month lease, 3-month lease, $230 a month from Conica Minolta after examining their options, and the current lease expires at the end of this month. So Sheriff's asking permission to go ahead and get a 36-month lease for a new copier. Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve that.
Move to accept.
Motion and a second, and the reason we're voting on this is because it's contract and we have to. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions of the Sheriff? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we have Sheriff Brady's monthly reports that are also in your packet. These are the normal monthly reports.
I move to approve.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Sheriff. And just, we might as well do this now, Tim. Remember our last meeting, Magistrate McCullum pointed out that it may be good to at least advertise for bids for the sheriff's fuel cards, retail spending on fuel. And we've agreed for a strategy to do that and just require permission through the motion to allow the sheriff's department to go ahead and advertise that.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other thoughts? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Gold, your payments.
Judge, I've only got one check today, and that is as required by statute KRS 514.040. We run a bad check collection program through our office, and that generates some amount of fees. As fewer and fewer people write checks, the amount of money actually generated out of that program has gone down over the years. However, the statute does require that at some point during the year, we turn over an amount equal to what the closing balance was on July 30 to the fiscal court. The statute says those funds are to be used for the operation of our office. As of the end of June 30, 2019, the balance in that bad check collection account was $3,145.32. I have a check for the fiscal court for that amount. As some of you may know, years ago, the fiscal court had passed a resolution that basically said the county attorney didn't have to go through this, that they should, just keep the money in the account and keep using it for the operation of the office. The state auditor's office said you can't resolution around a statute, which is very correct. So we're turning over this check in the amount of $3,145.32 and asking the fiscal court to return that back to our office for use in the office to do things like pay salaries and whatnot.
Little things.
And there is a resolution in your...
So first, I'd like to make a motion to accept the county attorney payments.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And if, please, the fiscal court, I'd like the clerk to just read the summary of the resolution in front of us. It merely resolves that we're going to give the money back to the county attorney's office. So if you read that summary, please.
Resolution accepting the county attorney's 2018-2019 bad check fund proceeds and directing the treasurer to return said funds to the county attorney for office expenses.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other questions about that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go, Mr. Gold.
Thank you.
Call Treasurer Brenda Ryder up if she has any fund transfers or claims.
There are no fund transfers. I do have claims to Visa in the amount of $1,825.20. This is to come from the general fund in the amount of $1,575.20, which is majority of fiscal court meeting expenses, and from the road fund, $250, which would come from the county engineer's meeting expense appropriation line. From the general fund to Amazon Capital Services in the amount of $1,668.99. This is to come from the IT services appropriation line, and this is for inside courthouse camera updates. From the jail fund to Palmer Oil in the amount of $1,224.04. This is to come from the prisoner transport appropriation line. To the Bugman Pest Control in the amount of $885. This is to come from the jail's equipment and repairs maintenance appropriation line. to U.S. Bank in the amount of $5,328.04. The majority of this is to come from the staff training and travel appropriation line. To West Bank in the amount of $963.23. This is to come from the transport fuel appropriation line for the detention center. This is for their fuel credit card. Also from the jail to Victory Supply in the amount of $6,386.63, and this is to come from the prisoner appropriation line, prisoner clothing appropriation line. That's it.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve claims. Any other questions? We are not appropriating prisoners. We're appropriating
No,
clothing
we're
for
clothing
prisoners. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. One item, I'd like Mr. Hubiak, Bill, if you wouldn't mind coming up. We're going to ask permission to appoint some road viewers, which is a small panel required to be appointed by the county to review the possible closure of a road. And if you wouldn't mind explaining the situation with Clay Cemetery Road, Mr. Hubiak.
We've had a request by some property owners in Henderson County to close a portion of Clay Cemetery Road. I had met with the individuals, explained to them the process, looked at the area that they're wanting to close off to the public, and I felt that it would be in the best interest of the county to go ahead and forward the process to do this. They're having some problems with the security on their property. This will not inhibit in any way or form the access to Clay Cemetery, and the landowners are in agreement to form an easement to allow them to have access to the properties beyond a gate that they're wanting to install after the road would be closed. So by our KRS statute 178.080, the fiscal court has been petitioned and needs to appoint the county engineer along with 2 other road viewers to view the road. We will have to have a public hearing, notify all the landowners adjacent to the property, and also post public notices in areas to allow the public hearing notice to be publicized in that manner. So
What distance are we closing?
we're looking, and I believe it was in the letter, about 1,200. How much?
2,100 feet.
2,100 feet.
Make a motion to approve.
Yeah, we want to, the viewers that I would like to suggest for the county to view with me is Board of Zoning Chairman Mr. Dickey Johnson, who has done this task before in the past, and Mr. Jonathan Dixon, who is also a member of the Board of Zoning and is from that district, which is District 3.
Yeah, both are members of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and I agree with those picks. They will join Mr. Hubiak in reviewing the road. So I need a motion to approve those choices for our road viewing party.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions about this? Again, it's the beginning of a process, take a little while, but it'll come back to us, obviously, for final approval. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Before we get into resolution supporting our Constitution, I'll ask any other members of the audience who have any other items for good of the county they'd like to speak about. Feel free to come to the podium. We will again handle the resolution on the Constitution here in a minute, but if anybody else has anything they'd like to discuss. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
State your name,
Good morning.
please, just for the record.
My name is J.R. Stanley.
Gotcha.
I live in Basket. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Basket Volunteer Fire Department, and we have submitted an application for waiving the demolition of a house that we own property we had bought on US 60, and asked in the court if we could
Waive
get
the fee, the demolition fee. Judge, it has been inspected. There is no asbestos. There's no any other form that we have to fill out as far as the getting rid of the debris. But we, as in myself nor Randy Tassa, the codes administrator, has the ability to waive the fee. It has to come from fiscal court.
Yeah.
Just a formality.
And as a reminder, the volunteer fire department's all private, independent nonprofits. So this is a nonprofit organization asking for this forbearance, and I, for one, would support it. Anybody would like to make the motion to that effect, that we allow them to, we are allowing the fee to be waived in this case.
I'll make the motion to waive the fee.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank
you, Court.
There you go.
Anybody else have anything other than Constitution issues? Would like to say anything? I think we will wait maybe to go around the room go to the county until after our next step. Is that fine with everybody? Next, I would like to have the circuit court clerk read a resolution that, what did I say? Fiscal court clerk, sorry. Heavens, what? Read the resolution that we have prepared in support of the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Kentucky, partly in response to concerns about Second Amendment rights, as well as rights contained in all the amendments of the Bill of Rights. With that, I will have the clerk read it, and then we will give anybody who would like to come up and speak a couple minutes to say whatever you'd like to say. I'd like to keep it to a couple minutes each. If you see my hand come up, 2 minutes is about over. We want to give everybody a chance to speak, so if you'd please adhere to that, it'll help everybody get that chance. So with that, I'll have the clerk read the resolution.
A resolution in support of Kentucky and the United States constitutional rights and rejecting any infringement of fundamental rights. Whereas each member of the Henderson County Fiscal Court has solemnly sworn a public oath to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and whereas it is the duty and obligation of the Henderson County Fiscal Court to support, uphold, and defend the sanctity of the United States and Kentucky constitutions for the protection and welfare of its citizens. And whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court wishes to express its strong commitment to the citizens of Henderson County, enumerated in the United States and Kentucky constitutions, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court wishes to reaffirm unwavering support for the United States and Kentucky constitutions by objecting in advance to any federal or state legislation judged to be contrary to the rights conferred therein. Now therefore be it resolved by the Henderson County Fiscal Court this 14th day of January 2020 as follows. 1, that the Henderson County Fiscal Court reaffirms its oath of office to support the United States and Kentucky constitutions. 2, that the Henderson County Fiscal Court shall hereby honor and uphold always the oath of each individual member has duly taken to support the United States and Kentucky constitutions, and shall do so by pledging this day never to propose or pass local legislation contrary to or eroding those rights and fundamental principles granted and held within these instruments of freedom. 3, that the Henderson County Fiscal Court hereby acknowledges that the United States Constitution and the Kentucky Constitution are the highest laws of the land.
Thank you, and before we let anybody come up and speak, I'd like to make sure the magistrates understand at any time if you have any questions of any of the speakers, feel free. Say whatever you'd like and ask questions about whatever you'd like. And with that, anybody who would like to come up to the microphone and speak, I'd be happy to host you. When you get to the microphone, please, if you don't mind, state your name and if you are or are not a Henderson County resident.
My name is Jesse Horn. I do live in Henderson County. I think it's nice that you affirm your oath, but under the circumstances, I think you're missing the point. The point is the Second Amendment is under attack. If you're not aware of Virginia, what's going on there, you need to check on it. It's not a matter of saying, well, we got to support the Constitution, which we all do and you all take oath to. I also took an oath to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. when the states or the federal government pass laws that are unconstitutional, they are null and void. You shouldn't have to have a class on how this goes. I urge the county to go ahead and pass the resolution as a Second Amendment sanctuary county. There's already 12, maybe 13. Hopkinsville, I think, was the last one a few days ago, passed their resolution. This resolution, as same as the resolution you're passing today, has no teeth whatsoever as far as legality goes. But what it does do, it sends a message to Frankfort and to D.C. that the citizens of Kentucky are watching them, and they're not going to put up with unconstitutional laws. Now, I know you said, well, the laws, if they pass law, we got to enforce the laws. But what if they pass laws that says, well, everybody on the board of the county has to get strip searched once a week? I don't think we'd be enforcing that law. The thing is, we need to stop these laws before they are put in place. Kentucky has 2 or 3 laws coming into effect or been pre-filed. One of them is a red flag law. Now, most people think about that and say, well, somebody is mentally incapable or something, they don't need access to a gun or anything. Which, I agree with that there. But the idea of a red flag law violates a person's rights by not having any warning or anything of such thing being passed. So I urge you to go ahead and pass your resolution for your support of the Constitution, but also one for the support of the Second Amendment county. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple notes. The example Mr. Horn used about laws passed at the state level. Any law passed at the state level can be challenged in court as to both its legality and constitutionality. And of course, as it's spelled out in the Constitution, those decisions are made through our judiciary and the court system, and not necessarily, not at the county level at all. So, in the examples you gave, we would hope that not only would people challenge it, but when the courts review it and strike down any laws that they consider to be unconstitutional, obviously unconstitutional. So, the other thing I wanted to mention is yesterday I spoke to both Senator Robbie Mills, State Senator Robbie Mills, and Representative Suzanne Miles about their estimation of the potential for success of any bills filed in the current General Assembly regarding new gun laws, and they reiterated, as you probably know, their opinion that not only will those laws not be approved, they will probably not likely even get to the point of having a vote. I mean, that's the current sentiment in the Kentucky legislature. So at this point, any idea that any of those laws are imminent, I think is probably not true. But and I'm sure you're glad to hear that. So just want to know.
Virginia thought the same thing. That would be a problem with what happened
But thank you for speaking, Mr. Horn. Would anybody else like to speak? Please state your name if you're from Henderson County.
Yes, I'm Wes Newman. I've lived in Henderson County all my life. Thanks to Mr. Horton's pointers, I think he's correct. I think we need to make a statement. At least when they go to add up the totals, they'll know where we stand. It has really no teeth, and there are always people encroaching on our freedoms, and we have to be ready to take a stand. Red flag laws, totally against them. Most of the time, when they have someone who has committed a crime, the authorities knew about them already. So why do we want a red flag law? Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Again, please state your name and if you're from Henderson County.
I'm Anthony Newman, and lived in Henderson County 33 years, moved away about 30, and back just last 6 months ago, bought
Welcome
a home
back.
out in the northeast side of town. That was really nice resolution you made, but it didn't say anything. It doesn't state what your stance is, what Henderson County's stance is on the topic. Are y'all in favor of free speech? Are you in favor of, the First Amendment? Are you in favor of any of the Constitution? By saying what you said, we're wide open for some really anti-Constitution laws. They use Virginia as a example. I mean, that's horrible what's happened there. Virginia is a pro-Second Amendment state. They've just got some people in charge that don't believe in the Constitution. They believe in what they think the Constitution means. Right now, California, New York, several other places have limits on magazine capacity. They want to eliminate what they call military-style weapons. To own a military-style weapon in the United States, which you can own a machine gun. I can own a 50 caliber machine gun that I shot on an Army tank. But you have to have a federal license, you have to go through a lot of taxes, that kind of stuff. So almost nobody owns those. However, the Constitution doesn't state that there are limits on it. It shall not be infringed. A woman's right to vote shall not be infringed. We don't have slavery in America because of the Constitution. What laws could be passed in the future that says certain people can be slaves or only brunettes can vote? That's why you've got to stop this crap before it starts. Your resolution says you don't really take a stand on the topic. It just says that you're getting us off your backs. That's what it tells me. Thank you very much for listening.
I kind of disagree with that last comment, sir. I think our point is really that we see all articles and rights in the Constitution, not one bigger than the other. All of them have equal value to us, and we're going to uphold them, each and every one of them. And my issue was, and I would talk to Rob Wiederstein, Comer, every legislator, federally and state, to make those points, because that's where it all lies, in those groups. We're just here to uphold. But we would, again, I'm like you guys, really, each and every one of you. I love guns, I love knives. But again, my obligation is to uphold all of them. Equal rights, the Second Amendment, all of them. Not just one. We can't pick and choose. We're going to uphold all of them.
May I add to what I said?
You need to come up to the microphone.
Okay. Just a short comment. The legislatures and people in charge of New York, California, and Virginia said the same thing. They support free speech. The people running our colleges say they support free speech, yet if you're a conservative on almost any major university in the United States, you're shouted down, you're ran out, you're not allowed to speak. So this isn't just a Second Amendment situation, it's an assault on our Constitution. So we're trying to point out that it's kind of like the camel's nose under the tent. You let the nose under and the whole darn camel comes under. So my interpretation, and I could be wrong, is that you say you support the entire Constitution, but when it's under attack, you won't take a stance. So that's just my feelings. Everybody else has their own thoughts. Thank you for listening again.
Tony, I have a question. I'm an NRA member, big supporter on guns. I mean, not totally against passing something for the Second Amendment. My problem is the wording of that word sanctuary. Do you feel it's okay to have sanctuary cities for immigration?
No.
There you go. I don't either.
But sanctuary cities for immigration is against all legal statutes.
Any sanctuary, anything is against all legal statutes, other than a wildlife sanctuary.
So it's okay to smash an eagle's egg in the United States,
No.
but you can kill a baby.
Well, unfortunately, yes, that's the way it is at this time.
That's why most Americans are beginning to not trust the legal system or a lot of our politicians.
And
I mean, this debate is many hours long.
And I agree. But again, the sanctuary part of it is what's really got me concerned, because if you vote for a sanctuary...
Well, isn't the United States Constitution say that we are the leader, basically we're the leaders in the free world of freedom, democracy, and what makes us special is not because we're white, black, yellow, or red. It's because we are a nation of laws. We wrote the Constitution, but every politician since Washington went across the river has his own interpretation, and laws get passed. The Constitution is not a living document per what some people think. It's something that the states have to ratify changes. But we have cities, counties, and states that make changes all the time to the Constitution. The federal government changes the Constitution, or not changes, sorry about changes, ignores.
Thank you.
Well, it does. It's called a Convention of States, and you ratify it by a vote of states.
Well, we have a Supreme Court that makes
No, the Supreme Court is not to make any changes in the Constitution, period. That's in the Constitution. The Supreme Court can only rule on the validity of what somebody's trying to do to the Constitution.
Correct.
We
So
have liberal judges who put
the
their
resource.
own thoughts into it. That's one of the battles going on in D.C. right now. The originalists who support the Constitution as it's written, and the ones that want to change it through their own thinking, their own justifications.
But there is a system, if somebody passes a law that's unconstitutional, to challenge the law, take it through the court system, and get it declared unconstitutional.
Yes, but
Okay.
our own legislatures and own people won't do that for the most part.
They don't have to.
They let
Private
it
citizen
ride.
can sue. A private citizen can sue and take it to court.
You
Doesn't
have that
require-
right.
Yeah, I've got about $10 million to go up before the Supreme Court, hire lawyers.
I know the NRA certainly does.
Well, the NRA does, yes.
And a couple more points. I appreciate you mentioning all the protections mentioned in the Constitution that we are all concerned about. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure we reaffirmed our support for the entire Constitution, because things like the First Amendment are very dear to my heart as a former journalist. And I know there are other people in town who have called me over the last several weeks to voice their support for other amendments in the Constitution. And that's, again, a part of the reason we wanted to reaffirm our support for the entire documents, not just one, because, as you say, many of them seemingly under attack in some corners. Also, it's not true that the Constitution can't be changed, because it can and has been for the good of the people. The Civil Rights Act being a good example. You mentioned.
Well, I didn't say it couldn't be changed. I said it had to be changed in the proper manner.
Well, again, good, because there is a proper manner for doing it, and that is a process spelled out in the Constitution. So supporting the Constitution, in my mind, also supports the processes for altering any interpretation of the Constitution. So to become a sanctuary where we even imply through a resolution that we can pick and choose the laws we want to follow is in itself unconstitutional. if we decide we at the local level will decide what Second Amendment or gun laws are or not constitutional is wrong because we don't have that ability. So to ignore any law that's passed before courts rule on whether it's unconstitutional or not is not in our purview as a state, as a county government, because of the process spelled out in the Constitution. That makes sense, I mean.
It makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I still feel they're just not addressing the issue at hand. I mean, that was the whole thing, and even in the paper,
Anybody else would like to come up and speak? Before a second, anybody else would like to come up and speak? Yes, sir. Can you state your name, please?
My name's Waylon Phillips. I've lived in Henderson County all my life. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. You talking about you're not too keen on the word sanctuary. Well, that may be true to a certain extent, but let me give you I'm going to give you a little information that I gathered firsthand. I just recently come back from England, okay? In England, if you want to own a firearm, you have to go through a very extensive process. In England, you can't even own a pocket knife. It's against the law to carry even a little fingernail pocket knife. You will go to jail. No questions asked. You want to buy a machete, work on your farm, something like that, you got to go to the chief of police and get a permit. Okay? Now, at the way things are going here in the States, now, I know we do have laws and some things, but I see that coming to us if we don't start acting and taking appropriate measures now. I went to buy, my daughter lives there. I went to buy her a set of kitchen knives. I had to show my ID to the cashier. She gave me a ticket, and then I had to go to this fortified cage, pretty much is what it was. Give that, show my ID again to receive the knives. And that's just for kitchen knives. And, do we want to start that here? So there's some food for you guys to think about. And as far as being a sanctuary city, it may not be a bad idea.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please state your name.
My name is David Jewell.
Resident of Henderson County, correct?
Yes, sir. I can cure all this. I have the resolution from Kentucky United, a representative from them, and I want to give a copy of this to each one of y'all.
Thank you, sir.
So basically what they've been talking about is to guard everybody's rights in the Second Amendment. And I realize that you all want to just guard the whole Constitution. I understand that. But not to be picky about anything, but like the gentleman said to my left, to my right, that it's coming to the point of we need to be picky. We need to be guard each one of the amendments of the Constitution for the different things that's happened in the United States. They said something about Virginia. Colorado has the same kind of problem. They went to their police department and their sheriff's department and said, you'll go out and get assault weapons, or you go out and get weapons from different people. Whether they're guilty of any charges or not, you're going to go ahead and collect them. And they said, no, we won't, because they don't want to endanger their deputies on the spot of people going, I'm not going to give them up, you know. There's no court order or anything else. You're just going to go out and get them. So that could come to here. And so you don't want to be a sanctuary city or a sanctuary county. I think as of this morning, there's 15 to 16 counties in the state of Kentucky that have already done this. And that's to guard everybody's rights on this particular problem. Any questions?
I will clarify that you're talking about counties becoming sanctuary counties. I think those are resolutions that don't actually hold the weight of law, and declaring yourself a sanctuary county and actually being a sanctuary county are two different things. And a couple, I think Marshall County actually went to effort to pass an ordinance, an actual law, declaring itself a sanctuary and actually spelling out how it would deny local participation in enforcing any laws that it deemed to be unconstitutional. And now that ordinance has been removed because both local county attorneys and legal opinions around the state immediately declared that to be illegal, according to both Kentucky revised statute and our Constitution. So just so you know, I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, you could always take the word sanctuary out and not have that in there, and just have it to protect your Second Amendment rights and all the rights of the state of Kentucky.
Any
Thank you,
other
gentlemen.
questions, Mr. Joy?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Wes Newman, that's a very interesting point. Take the word sanctuary out. But you need to promote the Second Amendment. They need to know where we stand. So instead of coming out as a Second Amendment sanctuary, let's come out as supporters of the Second Amendment. I don't see whether that'll hurt a thing. I think it is important that you spell it out. The first right we're going to lose is the Second Amendment. We need to make a stand. Thank you.
One of the things that I've done since all this started is I contacted my congressman, I contacted my senator, and my U.S. congressman, and made sure they know where I stand with Second Amendment rights. I do not support any new laws on my right to own guns, on your right to own guns. I want that to be clear. I'm not opposed to the Second Amendment in any way. But our fight is not here. It's in Frankfort, in Washington. We're not going to be able to. I don't want it. If I pass a resolution, and people, I don't want people to get the false security of thinking they're covered, because if they pass the laws, we're not covered. If it passes in Frankfort and it passes in Washington, we are not covered because we're a sanctuary or whatever. It makes no difference at that point what we do.
That's when you exercise your Second Amendment rights. Yeah. But that's where you exercise your Second Amendment rights.
And what do you mean by that?
Just what I said.
What do you mean exercising your Second Amendment right?
You address the evils that are around you. You take care of the issue. You correct
What does that
the
mean?
right.
What does that mean?
Armed conflict, if it takes it.
Armed conflict.
Because I'm not going to have my grandchildren kneel in front of anyone.
Okay.
No one. I don't really care. I don't care. Take out the sanctuary, support the Second Amendment, I won't have an issue. Problem will never come back.
Tony, let me make a suggestion. I agree with Tim. I mean, I think everybody.
My name's Wes.
Wes, I had it written, got you wrong over here. I got it written down. Wes. I agree with Tim. I mean, I think everybody here, us included, we need to talk to Frankfurt. We need to talk to the legislators. That's a bigger step than here. We need to let them all know how we feel, and I think that's where it lies. A lot more important there, because that's where it's going to come from if anything happens. I think we need to talk to, your legislators. I'm sure call them.
And you don't think I
Call 'em.
have it?
I don't know. I don't
You're
know.
the
I'm
only
just,
people
I don't
I
know.
haven't talked to.
I know you have.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, Tim knows me. We spent a lot of time.
Yeah, but
together.
there's other people in here. There's more than you here. I don't know if you have. I assume you have then. But everybody talk to the legislators. That carries a lot more weight. And, I'm a gun guy too. I think probably most everybody up here is. Talk to the legislator. That's very important on any issue, especially this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
And the Second Amendment, 30, 40 years ago, I was getting into a lot of the politics. Like, drove me crazy, and I finally said, well, I need to focus. So I took the Second Amendment as the focus of my goings on, stuff like that. And the reason I did so, and goes along with you wanting to say, well, we're going to support the Constitution and stuff like that. But the Second Amendment is being chipped away. And the reason I picked the Second Amendment to focus on is because the Second Amendment protects all the other amendments. The Second Amendment's not about goose hunting, deer hunting, rabbit hunting, or plinking down at the range. The Second Amendment in there is so that the people would have the means to defend themselves against a government that goes tyrant. That's simple. I mean, people can make all kinds of statements and things. And again, it's a resolution. And like I said, it has no teeth whatsoever. And that if it's done, it should be pointed out that. But just to say, well, we're for the Constitution, we're all for the Constitution. But are you willing to protect that Constitution? And as far as, well, we're the people down here in Frankfurt, we are the people. We are the people that have the say to what Frankfurt does. So, our legislators, local and state and federal, need to pay attention to the people. And that's what we are, we the people. So again, I urge you, to put Second Amendment in your resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll add to that by saying we've received a lot of contact. All of us, I think, have received a lot of comments about this. And in my own personal case, I have received as many emails, texts, and comments taking the complete other side of this conversation. And I've had a lot of people who have said, I'm a Second Amendment supporter, I'm a gun owner, and I think the way that Kentucky United is going about this is completely wrong. So for us, it's a conundrum to understand that we not only represent all of you in county government, but the entire body of citizens in this county, all of whom have opinions about this, and many of whom disagree with yours. It's their right. We have to try to balance what we feel is correct, given our positions as elected officials, and weigh that against things that people tell us they want, and try to come up with a good decision based on all those factors. And just so you know, there are many, many people in this county who do not feel the same way you do. And we have to understand that. I just want to say that. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Briefly, Anthony Newman again. I know Charles from
Last time I saw you was 1969, I think, in high school. Played football with Stephen's father. Worked with Timmy Southard at Sunoco Products Company. Left there in '87 and moved to Mobile and been gone ever since. I don't know the rest of you. I do want to get to know every single one of you and every single politician, because you are politicians in the long run, because our freedom, our way of life, let's face it, we don't really do anything. We elect y'all to get it done. We're a representative form of government, so we the people don't really do a whole lot other than vote. So I want to make sure where each of you stand, each politician in Kentucky stands, because I want to know who to vote for. You know, that's why I'm attending the meeting. I'm very vocal about my views, and I really appreciate y'all listening, and that's very important to me. So y'all have a great day.
Mr. Coombs? Please state your name.
Yes, sir. John Coombs. Wear many hats. Today,
live
the
in
one I'm
Henderson
doing
County,
is
correct?
the Labor Council. You know, I'm not for this, and I'm not against it. I just want to state that. I'm a gun owner. I believe in that. I understand their fight here, but they need to understand where we come from. As a union leader, we have been fighting the fight for over 130 years. There's the Shertail factory. There's Blair Mountain. Guys talking about machine guns. That was government owned. We didn't have them, but we stood up. My point is, gun control comes in many different forms. And one of the problems we have right now is wages. The wages are not high enough. We don't have good education. We're still fighting that. Health care, that's a big issue. People are paying a tremendous amount of money. They're not making a lot. So, you know, I guess my point is, gun control could come if you attack the Second Amendment, which I'm not so sure that's happening. But gun control can also come if you can't afford a gun or you can't afford the ammunition. Then what have you got? So gun control comes in many ways. And I understand these guys' fights. Well, you know, there's the coal miners. They've been fighting for the last 8 years to get their pension and their retirement. And finally, they got this done in December. So their fight, I understand it, but I think they need to look at a different prospect too. You know, we keep fighting. It's not when you don't win something and you do a resolution that's over with. They're going to have to continue fighting just like we do. So that's something they probably need to consider. So thank you for the time.
Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, we've read the resolution. Need a motion to accept the resolution as passed, or if anybody wants to offer a change, we'll entertain that now too.
I move we accept.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments?
Judge, just, you kind of hit on a minute ago. I was at a meeting Monday night. There was attendance of about 30, 35 people. This issue came up in that meeting. And my question was to the group, not saying a whole lot, but the question was, do we need it? And based on the information that they understood that really has no teeth, you know, we should be obligated as a government body to uphold all of it. So out of that 30-odd people, there wasn't any of them in support of a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And just to tag on, it was a union meeting. And goes out saying I'm a card-carrying member. And but just to tell you that, you know, we represent all the people, Judge. I think you hit on that a moment ago. You know, so you got this side, and you got this side. I don't know where it all shakes out as how many's for or against. I personally didn't have one call. I talked to individuals about it, but I did not have one call in support of it.
Well, I was quite the opposite. I've had several calls that was in favor of the 2A. again, I'm not totally opposed to the 2A. I am opposed to the word sanctuary. I would not want to open us up to any or every special interest group in the country wanting special rules. I don't feel like we, as the county government, should be making any kind of special rules. I feel like we should follow the Constitution to the letter. Not in favor of gun control. And again, I think what we're doing here covers the Constitution. And I'm in support of that.
I'll also say that in the last couple of weeks, I've had many people contact me and saying that we shouldn't do anything like this at all, that it's merely pandering to a group. And what's the worth of that? And I think by refusing that argument and taking the time to pass a resolution that at least acknowledges that we want to reaffirm our belief in the validity and the importance of the Constitution of the United States and Kentucky is a nod towards your concern. I know it doesn't say exactly what you'd like it to say, but this resolution does reaffirm our support of your rights, my rights, and does it in a way that we think is fair and also takes into concern that other people have about other amendments in the Constitution. So unless anybody else has anything to add to that.
Judge, I call for the question.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Southern?
Aye.
Magistrate Moran?
Aye.
Magistrate Putman?
Aye.
Magistrate McCollum?
Aye.
Magistrate Berry?
Aye.
Judge Schneider?
Aye. With that, we will go around the horn here for final statements good to the county. I do appreciate Bryce and Jesse's patience. It's been a very interesting conversation, and really enjoy you being here with us. Magistrate Southern.
First off, I'd like Bryce, Jesse, it's an honor for y'all to be chosen from y'all's school. You're in a big school, and they picked y'all. That says a lot. It says a lot about both of you. Apologize for you got the lengthiest court I've had in a year. But you see how important our system is. You know, people come together, we all talk. I don't think you've seen any arguments. Everybody held themselves with good standards. And we're lucky we live in a community where people come together and do care. So, all's good in the second or third, and second too. I drove through there yesterday.
Magistrate Moran.
I know it is difficult when you come from a small school, an elementary school, to the middle school, because I taught middle school. But it's so easy to get lost in the middle of all that, and so it truly is a large accomplishment that you all were chosen from those schools, and I'm really proud of you, and I know your parents are. And keep up the good work is all I can say. And it's good in the second district.
Magistrate McCollum.
Jesse and Bryce, congratulations. As of the previous.
I'm sorry, Magistrate Putman. I'm sorry.
I knew who you were.
I can't wait to hear Magistrate McCollum, but I Magistrate Putman.
But anyway, congratulations. Looking forward to taking you guys to lunch, and we can talk here shortly to see where we can come together on where you want to go. But it is, like Magistrate Southern said, it's a big honor to come out of such a school and get selected. You know, because the criteria to meet the standards very high. So I know your families are very proud of you, and I know you represent your school well, and you'll continue to go through life because you've already raised the bar. So you can't back up. You got to keep going up. And with respect to Mr. Horn, Mr. Newman, Mr. Phillips, and Mr. Jewell, I don't want you to think that we didn't hear what you had to say. Again, it's a very difficult matter to take up when you and I don't want to repeat myself, but that the different sides of everything. And you're right, it's politics, a lot of it. So we're here to represent everybody in the best way we can. And again, Bill's left, but I want to thank Bill and the road department for taking care of Rocks Road for me. And all is good in the fourth, Judge. Thank you.
Now, Master McCall.
Thank you very much. Jesse and Bryce, congratulations. We are proud of you. And everyone that came here today to speak, thank you for exercising your right to free speech. We are very, very fortunate to live in this country. I'm very proud of it, and I would fight to defend it too. And all is well in the fifth, and I thank the other members of the court. Thank you.
Master Perry.
I always go last. Bryce and Jesse, again, congratulations. I know you've been told that many times. And to the parents. The parents are proud of you, I'm sure. And we are as well. Takes a lot of hard work. Have you learned anything today? Yeah? Okay, good.
The price of sand is way high, isn't it?
Yeah, you learned blacktop is expensive. Yeah, I did that last year. Thank you, guys. The Second Amendment, I mean, I love guns. I've got many. It's tough. And if anybody thinks this is an easy job, we'll be glad to tell you. I will. It's not easy, believe me. And we're glad you came. And we do listen to you. There's it's a tough issue. Has been for a long time. And actually, I agree, it gets worse. But we're doing the best we can. So come back anytime. With that, I think, and all the veterans, appreciate your service. With that, we're good in District 1.
Mr. Gold.
Again, I want to echo to Bryce and Jesse. Jesse, I lied to you earlier. Bryce, we didn't know you were here. Normally, the Judge's Scholar sits up here, and I told Jesse she was going to be sitting beside me during this, so I'm sorry about that. But it is, I know, you were at a long and boring but important meeting where we talked about rocks and sand and stuff like that, and resolutions about gas lines going to economic development sites and things like that. But that's what happens here a lot. The later part of the meeting got a lot more interesting because that's, there were things easier to wrap your head around and not quite so boring. But a lot of what the fiscal court ends up doing is that boring but important stuff. And I would encourage you to always keep your eyes on that sort of things. You all are doing that, or you wouldn't have been chosen to be representing your schools, because there's a lot of stuff you've got to do in school that's boring but important too, isn't it? Well, we appreciate you being here, and I also hope, Magistrate Berry asked if you learned anything today, and I hope what you learned, and there's a saying one of our former county judges used to use all the time, that was one of his favorite phrases, was that democracy is not a spectator sport. And it's not, and our liberty must be guarded by people who are willing to come and talk and speak their minds freely and openly to people in positions to represent them. So that's an important thing, and I hope that's what you learned today. And I also hope that since Magistrate Putman is buying your lunch, that you get double dessert on him. And I hope that you enjoy your day. You get those proclamations. You could go back and tell everybody today is your day. It was declared officially to be your day in Henderson County. Other than that, everything's good in the county attorney's office, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. I want to say thank you to everybody who spoke. And I really want to say that I'm proud that we were able to have a civil discussion. I know your sentiments were heartfelt and you're very passionate, but I really appreciate the fact that we kept this as an honest debate that didn't rise to the level of emotional outbursts that we've seen in other counties or locales in this country. And I say that because of these two young people sitting right here, Bryce and Jesse. They need to see how government can work in partnership with the people, not us against them, me against you, Democrat versus Republican, that has divided our country for so long. And I think that we have all done our best to make sure that they saw the best part of democracy and maybe not something else. So thank you very much for being here today and expressing your opinion. Congratulations to both of you. You should be proud. It's special. And I said before, you picked a very unusual day to come and watch this sausage made, and I hope it makes an impression, a positive impression, because I think again, I appreciated the way the ideas were presented and allowing both sides to offer ideas. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion is second. All those in favor can leave.